Hey guys, welcome back to the REVan channel. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. We're trying to grow the channel with some of this awesome Ford and other content that we got going on. As you can see today, we're back on the Cyclone. Abe's done a lot of the prep work to get this Heidts Super Ride front end started and installed in the car. Alright, so today we're going to mock everything up in the car. It's important to get everything square so that the suspension works properly. So the first step is figuring out how to get the K-member installed in the right spot, located properly. All right, Abe, since I've been gone, I see that you did a lot of metal work. Take us through real quick what you've done.
Yeah, I did a little bit of work. I started with cleaning everything up, grinding it down, flap disc, this way it's clean. Boxing the frame, that's always the first step.
Abe's got the cross member, there it is. Look at that piece of metal.
Check it out. Alright, I'm going to attempt to just drop it in where I marked it.
Now you can see how it makes sense why you need to box the frame, because now you're putting a lot of load from the front suspension right on that part of the frame, so reinforcing it is fairly critical, and Abe's done a really nice job. Alright, so we laid the cross member in the car, and then why don't you show everybody how you went about getting it centered and located.
There's no straight lines on this car, so I found where the sway bar mount is actually level with the car, so I use that line. And what I'm doing now is I'm making sure that the center of where the cross member is 116 inches from the rear wheel, because that's the wheelbase of this car. So I made a mark before I took everything out on a piece of metal on the sway bar mount. So as long as the whole thing is, 10.5 inches, then we're good.
Right, and then, so the cross member where you're measuring from, and you say the center line, is also where the spindle sits, right? So
Correct.
That'll actually be where the wheelbase sits.
That's actually where the wheelbase is. But just in case, we'll bolt in all the suspension, the rack, just to make sure everything fits. So that's the center line that I made, and this is my measurement from 10.5 inches on both sides. So I'm gonna go right there. See, that's, I don't know if you can see it, 10.5 to, it's actually at 10.5. So that's actually centered to where it has to go, but now we have to make sure it's tilted the right way and, you know, not facing up. So another thing I have to do is make sure that it's level to the sides and front to back. And again, I'm using this as my guide. So I'm gonna measure there and there, and I'll also measure it on the sides too, just to make sure that the whole thing is even. All right, I'm gonna mop this up to make sure, can you even hear me?
Yep.
To make sure this is gonna clear everything. So that's a cool lower control arm. Let's go to an upper control arm.
You can see that everything is fitted properly from Heidts, where in some suspensions you would shim the upper control arm front to back to set the caster. In this case, everything appears to be built into the system, and the hardware is included too, hence the giant bolt that Abe's installing.
That's actually pretty cool. There's plenty of clearance behind. This won't have any issues clearing anything.
You can see Abe's handiwork on the frame, box that frame in there.
Look how cool this is. These are adjustable front shocks from Heidts, and they're springs. These are 550 springs.
Yep, which we can obviously change and tune for the ride quality and performance that we're looking for once the car is complete and we get it running and driving.
Also really nice are, these are all bushings all around, so it rides like you know, not so harsh.
Just to reiterate, we are just assembling this stuff so we can mock everything up. This is not final assembly of the parts.
This is just mocking it up. I gotta say, this looks bad to the bone. It's look how much room, extra room that we have. We gained everything in the back over here. The only thing we have to run is a steering rod to the rack, which we're going to put in next. But now we have clearance for a pan. It's also a little bit lower where we could actually set the engine a little lower. Yeah, this looks really good. I like it. I think we saved a lot of weight too. Just a little perspective. This is the old shock tower. Look how much room we have now. This, well, it's in the way, but you get the idea. We gained all of this space over here, which is a good, what, 6-7 inches on each side.
Yeah, that's a lot of room, Abe. Plus, so then all you got to do is make a plate to cover that hole and leave a little bit open for the suspension in the bottom, right?
Right. What I'm actually going to do is make a plate here, removable. This way we could service and work easier in the engine compartment. Probably fabricate this and use some Zeus fasteners or something like that so it looks cool.
There you go. Looks a lot lighter than all the steering links that came out.
I could do this all day.
Look at that. I see you got your awesome Willis Performance shirt on.
Oh yeah, check it out.
7.3 baby, look at that. Got the Brian Wolf shirt going today. Yeah.
There's unboxing and there's unbagging.
Power rack.
Yep.
In place of a steering box that came out of this car. So the rack mounts directly to the new frame that'll get welded in.
And it's going to sit right there.
Yep, and then you just have simple tie rods that go to the spindles as opposed to all the various steering links that came out of the car. And
so Heidts also gives us tie rod ends, mounts, and bolts for the rack. So it's all done for you. You don't have to go out there and, you know, locate parts or see what fits. Everything just bolts right up.
all right, so we got the Heidts Super Ride II front end mocked up, at least most of it. We didn't do the spindles yet, but we've got the frame located. We've got the upper and lower control arms mounted and the shocks in place. And then we went ahead and bolted up the rack. All the hardware worked really great. So we got a nice look at what's going to happen here. The next steps, of course, are fitting everything perfectly. Then Abe can get to welding. He's the head fabricator on this deal, so he's going to weld everything in place. We'll finish bolting things up. Of course, it's this front end takes a front anti-roll bar as well, so there's a little bit more to do before we have this wrapped up.